As I mentioned in the previous video, each of these fields are specifically tuned to what the VRA Core 4 is asking for, and also it knows which authorities to look at and the types of information that are needed. Let me start focusing on a couple of these different fields, and in this video we're going to be speaking about agents, measurements, and dates. Now, you see that there are agents on both sides. So an agent in the work field would be whoever created the main object, the painting, the architecture, or what have you. In this case, I just want to highlight how the fields work. So I'm going to do it in the image side. In the image size, it would typically be, if it was a drawing, who did the drawing, if it's different than the agent, or it could even be the photographer as well. Now, the great thing about it is, as you see, there is a orange block right here. What that is saying is that this has not been searched against the Getty. Behind the scenes in agent is ULAN, Union List of Artist Names. So let's say that I put in Degas, for instance. What it's going to do, as soon as you stop typing, it's going to be searching all of ULAN to find all of the matches for that. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to say, okay, well, this is, he was a sculptor and an artist at that point in time. It is the correct person. And then when you click the name, what it does is it puts in the artist and sculptor in the roles. You have a drop down here. And you also have a drop down to be able to select any type of qualifier for Degas. Now the great thing is you can always hit as many pluses or trash can depending on if you want to add rows or take rows away. But as you can see, the purple block is now present, which meant that you have connected to a specific ULAN record. What it does is as soon as you make this connection, behind the scenes in the database, it takes the ULAN ID number and puts it in there. So if anything changes with the data that the Getty provides, it will automatically apply. Whether they're adding new names, fixing typos, or what have you, it'll automatically trickle down to all the records that had that identifier built in. Date is also a really wonderful field because it has the ability to, you can select whether this is a creation. In this case, we'll say it's a creation. If it was a range, you have the ability to click that as well as a circuit date. Now, if in the range, each of the drop downs allow you to specify whether it's BCE or CE, the default being CE. And then you can just put in a numeric number to specify the year. At some point, we're even going to be even more specific that if you needed to be able to talk about a day or a month and a year, you'll have the ability to put that in as well. So as soon as I click that, it's now added to the list. One thing I'll also mention about agent as well is if for some reason there was not a specific match, you don't have to click on anything and it will leave what you have typed in there as a user specified agent. It will just automatically keep the orange block. So that way, when you are scanning through a record, you know what was identified as something in the ULAN and what is a user specified. The last one that I want to talk about is measurements as well. So I'm going to skip a couple fields and we're going to be talking about measurements in this. Measurements is probably one with the most amount of choices. And the great thing about measurements is it knows the types of fields it needs. So for instance, if I say that it is a duration, it's going to have days, hours, minutes, seconds. If I say that it is height, it's going to allow you to have a single field with the type of metrics or the measurements that you would be using. And you have the ability, so if you had height 36, you would then be able to put in width 42, so on and so forth. I also want to be able to talk in this video a little bit about the um, the popularity vote. So, for instance, in materials, if I just said oil, inside of AAT, the Getty's um, thesaurus of different types of art and architectural terms, you have 137 results. Now, most of the results that you would have are going to be oil paint. However, you as you scroll down through, you see that there are a number of things like animal oil and very specific things that you probably would not be using. What we do to make it a little bit more efficient is anytime that you use or the cataloger uses a specific Getty term, it automatically gets an additional point for it. So always the ones that are used the most frequent are going to be generated towards the top. So it allows you to save time from scrolling down through all of those things. You can just automatically click the one that is most relevant to you, and you have the ability to select the medium or the support. Another interesting thing about these in any field too is if you want to be able to have something be a searchable term, but yet you don't want it to be displayed with all of the cataloging information, whether in the digital asset manager or on the home page. So for instance, as you can see over here in the material, we have panels, oil paint, and paint. So we want it to be categorized as paint as well, but we didn't want it to be redundantly put in the cataloging. So just by clicking on any of the titles, you will see, if you can see in bold the name, that means it's going to be displayed. And if it's faded out, that means that it's going to be searchable but not displayed. In the next video, we're going to be talking about one of the more powerful portions, which is anything location based.